All right, it's Sunday morning. It's about 10:30 a.m. West Coast time. So, overnight Friday, we bombed Caracas, Venezuela. We abducted their president and their first lady. And they are now, I believe, they're in the same holding facility in New York City that held Sam Bankman-Fried, the crypto scammer, and it's also where Jeffrey Epstein was held and did not kill himself. So, of course, Marco Rubio has been making the rounds of the Sunday morning shows this morning. And I think Jim Jordan did a couple of shows this morning. And, you know, the, the Sunday morning hosts have been grilling Rubio and other people from the administration. What's the legal authority for us to do what we did to Venezuela? Why didn't you consult Congress ahead of time? And under what legal authority are we now taking over the government of this other country? And the answers are stupid and circular. Rubio initially said that military forces were simply serving as backup for American officials who were serving an arrest warrant in Venezuela. First, that's not how that works. If you want to extradite someone from a foreign country, you can try to do that. You don't just get to fly in and serve an arrest warrant on someone when they're 2,000 miles outside of your jurisdiction as an American law enforcement officer. Second, it's like that would just give the green light to the president anytime there's some ruler or leader in a country that the president doesn't like. He just phones up his attorney general and says, "Hey, give me an indictment on this person," and then tells the military, go serve that arrest warrant, and then they take him out. So this isn't how any of this works, man. Marco Rubio never answered the question of, what's the statutory or legal or constitutional authority for us to take over another country. He never answered that question. When asked by Kristen Welker on Meet the Press, why didn't they talk to Congress? He said, well, we didn't think it was necessary to get congressional approval. We didn't think it was necessary to inform Congress. We didn't think it was necessary to consult with Congress. All of that's illegal. Congressional authority is not optional. It doesn't depend on context. It doesn't depend what the president in the executive branch feels like. Congress is a separate branch, a co-equal branch. It's the legislative branch. And Congress, under the terms of the Constitution, is the only branch of government that has been provided with the authority to declare war on another country, which is exactly what we did. We declared war and we engaged in war against Venezuela. And this administration had not even told members of Congress ahead of time that this was going to happen. That's wildly insane. And Dana Bash then was talking to Jim Jordan, and she was asking Jim Jordan, what comes next and what authority Congress had exercised. Jim Jordan did not cite a law, an authorization, or a process. He said he trusts the president. He said he trusts Marco Rubio. He said he trusts the military. I wonder if he trusted the military when Joe Biden was president. And then Representative Jim Himes, who is fantastic and has national security background, he followed Jim Jordan's interview and he said along the lines of one branch claiming sweeping power without explaining its legal basis. Another branch is signaling it has no interest in demanding one. Checks and balances did not fail because they were overpowered. checks and balances failed because they were abandoned. And that describes our House and Senate over the last year. They have just fully and completely abandoned the entirety of the process of checks and balances. And I saw somebody posted someplace else, so there's no legal basis for anything that Trump has been doing relative to Venezuela, going back to September when we started the boat strikes. There's no legal basis for the CIA bombed a dock or something in Venezuela a couple weeks ago. No legal basis for that. There's no legal basis for what this administration and the military did overnight, Friday night, in attacking, bombing, invading Caracas, abducting their president and first lady and bringing them back to the United States. There's no legal basis for any of that stuff. And to find out that on top of all of that, this president, this administration did not even inform Congress, anybody in Congress ahead of time that this was going to happen. That's third world banana republic dictator shit right there, man. It just is. And it's just Trump trying to look like a hard ass and Pete Hegseth trying to look like a badass. And, Trump then fully admitting that it's because oil. And American oil companies are not going into Venezuela. They're not going into an unstable country to spend a decade investing $100 billion when they could lose the entirety of that investment at a moment's notice, depending on who the leader of that country is, or if somebody else takes over. And Mr. Global did a great video about that. I made a video about his video this morning, Sunday. But, Trump is delusional and stupid when it comes to foreign policy, foreign affairs, and the oil industry. He is a profoundly emotionally and psychologically disordered man. And he is also just stunningly stupid. He doesn't think more than 24 hours in advance. He campaigned on no new wars, no foreign wars, no forever wars. And we just took over a country in South America that's 2,000 miles away from the United States. We just took over a country and we deposed their leader. We kidnapped their leader. He's a shitty guy. Maduro's a shitty guy. That doesn't justify our president blatantly violating the Constitution and the law. It just doesn't. And, what if Canada decides to do that with Trump? What if Canada decides to send a bunch of commandos in and take Donald Trump and Melania Trump back to Canada and then says, okay, we are now running the United States government? How's that any different? We just gave away the moral high ground on literally every single foreign policy issue that the United States would be dealing with. We have no moral authority now when it comes to the Gaza Strip. We have no moral authority when it comes to things like Sudan. We certainly have no moral authority in the Ukraine-Russia conflict now. We just gave all that away because we bombed a country, abducted their leader, deposed their leader, and said, okay, we are running things now. And we did so with no legal basis, no justification, in a wildly unconstitutional manner. And we are now going to expect that other countries are going to behave differently than us. Donald Trump and every single one of his cabinet members are fucking morons. They're absolute idiots and morons. And then Stephen Miller's wife, Katie Miller, I think is her first name, on Friday or Saturday, it must have been Saturday, she posts an image of a map of Greenland, and the whole country is red, white, and blue. And she just put soon in all caps, like we're going to do a military invasion of Greenland next. Is that really what we're doing? they're just dumb